Good morning. Good afternoon. Oh, good morning. It is 9:01 a.m. I hope you're taking time today to feel the front of the shins. Are you remembering to feel the rainbow arches? Feel the front of the weight of the body on the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. Good morning to another day. Feeling so fine. Good morning. Using our sense of the world to make sense of the world. World peace through individual strength. Your only no-nonsense podcast on the Best Feeling Network. Today, we're going to talk about the Truth Hurts Days. Today is the Truth Hurts Days. It is Thursday, July 1st, 2021. Can you believe that already? We're here, second half of the year, guys. Let's go. I'm your host, Herbie, and this is absolutely Go On. You're feeling great out there. I hope you're able to feel the weight of the body from the spine into the rainbow arches at all of the times. I said, feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the time. And remember that you do not sit on your legs as you feel in front of your shins, my friends. I love that chorus so much. I want to hear that back. I want to hear that chorus one more time. I love that chorus so much. It's so good. Let's run that back one more time just because it's a great Truth Thursday. It's a Truth Thursdays. It's a Truth Hurts Days. It is the Truth Hurts Days, guys. I'm excited. You ready to talk about Suffah and die? A little bit harsh, right? A little bit harsh. Suffer and die. Kind of harsh. But that's why it's funny, right? Suffer and die. The Truth Hurts Days. Do what you will, but suffer and die. I love you guys. We'll see you in a second. Remember gals and guys, always in ear, one ear and out the other with all these words. It's the meaning that we care about, right? It is always the meaning that we really actually care about, not the individual words, right? And that is something we're going to be, that is something that we're going to be discussing today on Truth Hurts Days. Say that 10 times fast. Truth Hurts Days. Truth Hurts Days. We might do it. We might actually do it. Truth Hurts Days. Truth Hurts Days. Truth Hurts Days, where we're here on Go On. We discuss some hard truths that actually end up leading us all the way to Freedom Fridays. We talk about some heavy truths that give us some nice guidance so that we can live in freedom on Fridays. We discuss some heavy, gnarly truths that might be kind of tough. You know? It might be fucking rough. It might be friggin' rough. Broke my finger last night, guys. I don't even know how. Sometimes you're just cooking too hard, you know? The Truth Hurts Days, guys. Suffer and die. Why do I say that? Why do I say suffer and die? Well, first of all, it's funny. JLPO says that stuff. Jesse Lee Peterson always says suffer and die. Why does he say that? Well, first of all, it's funny. Why is it funny? It's so ridiculous, right? It has to be so ridiculous to be funny. suffer and die. You know that nobody would actually say that. That's why it is funny. There's an element of ridiculousness that is part of your ability to find it funny. Why is that? Because remember, as we talked about yesterday on Warfare Wednesdays, that our first reaction is compassion. Say it with me. Our first reaction is compassion. First reaction is compassion. Our first reaction is compassion. So what that means is when someone tells something gnarly, like suffer and die, your first reaction is compassion. So if you don't understand immediately that they're joking, if you don't understand how ridiculous it is that they would never do this thing, then your first reaction, because it's compassion, will find it not funny. You'll be in that awkward area of like, should I tell them that, like, should I be concerned? Should I ask them what's going on? Should I find out more? You know, but if you go with something ridiculous, like, I'm going to obliterate your entire existence. You know, if you're talking about that, it's like, of course you wouldn't do that. Of course you wouldn't do that, right? And which leads me to my next point, which is you actually need to live in a society where we all actually believe all the same things. We were once told that we were supposed to live with that. That was where the West actually screwed up pretty early on, was giving into this idea that we should be living in a world where everybody has their own world and everybody has like their own reality, but then you can't have funny things anymore. A lot of the things that we enjoy in life are so because of the fact that they are so that we have this underlying current of an idea of a morality. One of the biggest issues with the West on Truth Hurts days, one of the biggest mistakes that the West made so early on was to believe that you could have this nation of people who could all have great things and great feelings and great comedies and great culture and great relationships with that culture and great relationships with its economy and great relationships with the art that it makes and great relationships with the families it creates and great relationships with the people that it houses. In order for all that to happen, we used to think that we used to think that you could do that without having some like underlying current, like everybody could be whatever they wanted to be and everybody could think all the things that they wanted to think. But that's not actually the case, because what ends up happening is that you aren't actually able to parse whether or not people are being funny or something like that if you don't have an underlying current of morality that we all agree on. And why is that? Because without an underlying current that we all agree on, our first reaction is compassion as human beings. Because what is that? That's an emotional response. That's like, it's just a very basic, rudimentary response to something. You know, just basic suffering or not suffering, feel bad or not feel bad. You know, it's a very basic response. Is this reaction? Is this reaction with compassion kind of thing? It's a very basic response, very rudimentary, very instinctive. Just as you know how it feels to be sad and be in suffering, you do not want that upon somebody else, because you know it internally what it feels like. So our first reaction actually is compassion, which is one of the reasons why jokes have to be so ridiculous and over the top. There has to be that allowance for it to be as far as it can go, as bad as it can go, so that you know that it's a joke. It has to go as bad as, like, humor and words and art have to go as bad as the human brain can allow it to go, for it to be acknowledged immediately for what it is, so that people can be like, oh yeah, of course nobody would ever think that. Boom, now it's funny, or boom, now it's a joke. You know, that's one of the friggin' things about humor, right? So when we establish an idea of having no common morality, right? Everybody can be anything that they want. That was one of the biggest follies, the downfalls of the West, as we're seeing today, right? It was over the course of like 100 years that one of the biggest downfalls of the West was to think that you could have this society where everybody thinks all these different things. But it's not necessarily the case, because if someone's trying to be funny, unless there's this underlying morality of okay, yeah, I can just assume that this person in my nation doesn't think killing's cool. All right, cool. So now when he says, I'm gonna kill you, you know it's a joke, or you can help guide him towards making it funnier towards a joke. You don't actually take it offensively, because you know deep down, yeah, they would never do that. They would never try that. They would never even think about doing that. So, ha 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 ha. Of course, that's a joke. right? But if you have no underlying morality, everybody has to tiptoe on eggshells because you don't have the benefit of having that underlying current in which you can gauge the relationship of everything they're doing off of. It's not about what they do on the outside, but the relationship with these words, right? So they might be trying to make a joke, but because they're afraid of the consequences, they actually hold back. So they're not able to be as ridiculous as they need to go for people to understand immediately that it's a joke. Because jokes are about timing, obviously. Like it's a lot of it is about breathing, right? A lot of it is about like the specific timings of like when they said these things, right? And one of the things about jokes is the timings of the initial part. So if they don't immediately get it, because our bodies react to meaning and not object, if it's not immediately obvious it's a joke, their gears are turning and they're still trying to turn multiple different gears of games. Different games, like they're like, okay, the compassion game is going, okay, the humor gears are turning, also like the sadness gear is turning. They have to be sure that it's a humor game completely. And how do you make sure of that? Well, it has to be ridiculous from what? It has to be ridiculous. Ridiculous is a relative term, so ridiculous compared to what, right? Compared to a norm. And you have to have this norm, this basic under like this grassroots movement of a morality on the bottom. On the bottom, there has to be this grassroots morality so that the grass on top, the jokes that are being made are easier to gauge for people, because a lot of jokes are about the timing. They have to be able to get that in their own head. You have to be able to make them feel good from the inside out by making them come to a realization that's way better than just like, oh, word, chicken, crossword. You know, but no, there's like, boom, an explosion of meaning in their head because there's like a relationship being made now. There's like a base of what they expect someone to say and then what they actually said, and then boom, they can like relate that really quickly. But boom, that's a ridiculous thing they would say. I know that nobody in my country would ever friggin' say that kind of thing to me. So there has to be this underlying more like current of morality if we're even to just like enjoy art, because otherwise art is just like a bam, it's like there it is, an object in space. But we know that that's boring. Everything in life is a relationship. There's no such thing as objects. There's no such thing as these things just floating there. It's just our relationship to these things, right? What do I mean by that? Like art, like a song, it's objective, right? Or subjective, right? Obviously, but like you're basing it to something, right? There's like a neutral, and then the beat's hitting in, and then you have moments of silence, which contrast with the moments that are there. And so you only know how the rhythm is going because there are silences in between the parts in which there are beats. So in all facets of life, you see this. You see that it's about relationships. Because if you just had dots of sound, bap, 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 just all even, bap, 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 bap. There's nothing compare it. There's like if you just had a sound, bap, 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 bap. It's not musical because there's nothing to contrast it with. Every beat's the same. Every time the rhythm hits, it's exactly the same. So after a while, it drones. It's great to lay the groundwork, and that's what I'm saying. It lays the groundwork. You need to have some kind of groundwork to have relationships with, as I'm saying. So you have this basic bop, 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 bop. I see you. Good morning. Secret. You have this basic bop, 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 and that gives you the groundwork. And then you have this relationship with the music around it, right? But without that basic bop, 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 then you don't have another thing to contrast it with. Everything in life has to be relationships. You don't understand anything without these relationships. So for us to have jokes, for us to have comedy in the world, for us to have a great comedy, a great culture of comedy and arts and games and stuff, we actually do have to have this underlying ground of morality. We were so wrong earlier in the last 100 years of the world to think that we could just be like, yeah, everybody could believe whatever they want. All right, well, your art's gonna suck then. Suffer and die. Suffer and die, as we say, because then you have no frame of reference of whether or not people are joking. When I say suffer and die, and JLP, Jesse Lee Peterson, says suffer and die, there's truth behind it. But at the same time, the fact that it's just so ridiculous is what makes it so funny. You can't hold back on that. You can't tell people, oh, you can't tell people, okay, tone it down. He'll be like, go hurt yourself and feel sad today. It's just like, it's so like in the middle that like someone might actually say that. And they might actually mean that if they're feeling kind of angry. So you get in this weird place where you're like, That's weird. Like, should we laugh or should we be concerned? You know what I'm saying? You get in this strange area. But then if you go all the way, bah, you go all the way as far as you can, bah, you say suffer and die. It's like something that you just would not normally say. So obviously the relationship between us and those words is that it's funny because we have a relationship with words in that normally people don't say those kinds of things. Normally people don't say those kinds of things because we have this underlying idea that normally people wouldn't want to kill people. So they're just like, or normally people wouldn't want someone to suffer and die. So when they say suffer and die, it's get taken as a joke. You know what I'm saying? Which is a good thing. But for us to have that amazing joke, because it's also true, and we'll get to that on Truth Hurts Days. Today's the Truth Hurts Day. We'll get to why suffer and die is a fantastic way to begin and end our Truth Hurts Days. As we make ourselves, why do we do the Truth Hurts Days, guys? We do the Truth Hurts Days so that we can we do the Truth Hurts Days so that we can be free. We do the Truth Hurts Days to make our way to freedom. Because you got to get the truth that hurts to make your way to Freedom Fridays. Freedom Fridays. We do the Truth Hurts Days so that we can feel free on Freedom Fridays. The Truth Hurts Days. Suffer and die. It has to be ridiculous because we have this relationship with the base level of what people would not do in our country, right? For our country to have a great culture of art, great culture of relationships, a great culture of people everywhere getting all their sexual needs met, all of their relationship needs met, all their food needs met, all their culture needs met, all their art needs met, all their body needs met, all their food needs met, all their shins needs met, all their leaves needs met, all their plants needs met, all their everything needs met. For us to get all of our everything needs met, we must necessarily have an underlying current of a common morality. We have to, for things like suffer and die, to even get the message across. Now, what the hell is suffer and die? And why is that? Well, because there has to be a certain level of bass rhythm, right? Like a bass rhythm, like in a song, right? There has to be a certain uniformality about this, about life, that you can then gauge everything else off of, so that you can begin to understand art, so that you can begin to understand meaning, as we're always looking at meaning instead of object, right? In this world, our brains are just so friggin' strong. You superhero powered you super powered creature, your brain is so strong. You're constantly establishing meaning from just everything that you're looking at constantly before the words are even spoken. So as you know this about human beings, you know that there's potential for them to mean all sorts of things with their words. So without an underlying current of morality first, then you got to parse through every joke and spend 5 hours asking yourself, hey, was that a joke? Tell me how that's a joke. Tell me what you really mean by that. Tell me what you really mean by that. Well, if you knew the underlying base current of how we're supposed to be acting, you would know the meaning immediately. You wouldn't have to ask. You know what I'm saying? The Truth Hurts Days. But it feels so good, does it not? The truth hurts, but does it not feel so good? Suffer and die. What do we mean by that? We mean you can feel the rainbow arches right now. We mean you can feel the front of the spine. We mean that you can place the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. Because the weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. The weight-bearing portion of the spine is the front. And are you feeling the front of your shins? And then are you remembering that you don't sit on your legs? Are you remembering all of those things? Are you doing an effort to make yourself remember all of those things? What do we mean by suffer and die? Suffer and die. What do we mean by that? We mean you could place your weight on the body on the front of the spine into the rainbow arches at all the times, or you could not. You could do anything you want. You can do anything you want. The world is your oyster. You can do anything you want. We're just telling you what to do. People are just telling you guidance. People are just telling you what they think about what life should be like. You could do anything you want. Could do anything you want. I'm not telling you have to place the weight of the body on the front of the spine or into the rainbow arches at all times. You don't have to. You can just suffer and die if you want to. You can just suffer and die. As in, you were being told. These are just things that they're like guidance, man. It's like, yo, it feels good. You don't want to do it? All right, that's up to you. You can suffer. You can feel that way. You can choose to not place the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the time. It's gonna suck. I really wish you wouldn't do that. I know that you would feel so much better doing it, but it's up to you. Suffer and die, that's up to you. Everybody's gotta live their own life, and that's the beauty of it. Remember back on our first episode on YouTube of saying it's just you and you alone, and why that's a good thing. It's a good thing because once you find the way, once you find the ability to place the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches all of the times, and then feel in the front of the shins, and then remembering that you do not sit on your legs, then you can feel fine and you can feel amazing in your body. You can feel amazing. And once you find your connection with that, you wouldn't want nobody else in that body taking control of that. Taking control of that control panel, that is yours. Now you can choose to place your awareness anywhere you want. You can let these words go in one ear and out the other and feel how your sense of self feels when you do that. And no one else can make you do that but you. No one can tell you not to do that but you. No one can tell you not to allow these words to go in the left ear and then out the right ear, and then observe your body and how it balances itself as it does that. No one can tell you not to do that. Are you actually imagining these words, like a Dexter episode, go in one ear and out the other? And noticing how your body feels when you do that. Is there an actual shift in your body? What if we confirm that that's a reality? Would you pay attention to it more? Would you cultivate that feeling? Would you balance yourself more better, as time went on? Would you balance yourself better as time went on? Imagining the sounds going in one ear and out the other. In not just a figurative way, but also a literal way. Imagining that, how does your body feel? How does your body feel? If we refer to our body map of the week that we introduced on Monday, how does your body feel when you suspend the crown gently by a thread? When you imagine your crown being suspended gently by a thread, how does that feel? Oh, thank you for the follow, Lil Seki. How does that feel when you suspend the crown gently by a thread? I hope you're feeling amazing today in that body of yours. If you imagine the crown of your head, what is the crown of your head? What is the crown of your head, Herbie? That is the very top of your head, very highest portion of your head, where it crowns at the head. That's why they call it a crown, I'm told. So if you imagine your crown being suspended gently by a thread, how does your body feel? Big shout out to Secret. Thank you so much, Secret. How does your body feel? How do your bodies feel when you suspend the crown gently by a thread? And I say gently because it's not about doing this. It's not about hanging thyself from the thread on the crown. Though in a way it is, but gently. And how does your body feel? Allow these words to go in one ear and out the other, and how does it feel? How does it feel to allow these words to go in one ear and out the other? If we were to pay attention to our body and how it feels after we imagine that, how does it feel? Does it change? Does it make it a little bit different to feel the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the time? Does that sensation change a little bit when you think about letting these words go in one ear and out the other and suspending the crown gently by a thread? Feel free to come back to this part or skip around in the VOD. For all you people, all you future travelers out there, feel free to skip around in the VOD if you want these instructions. One more time, say it with me. Are you suspending the crown? Say it with me. Are you suspending the crown gently by a thread? One more time. Are you saying it with me? Please, I want to hear from you. Are you suspending the crown gently by a thread? And how does your body feel when you do that? Always in one ear and out the other, guys. Suffer and die. On the Truth Hurts days, suffer and die. We need this common morality, right? We need this common morality, actually. The West fudged up Hundreds of years ago, the West fudged up. We gave in. We gave in, suckers, to the idea that we could have some kind of different morality. It's not true. If we want to enjoy, I mean, we don't necessarily have to. We could suffer and die. We could suffer and die as we are. As we about to are. As we about are going to. We could suffer and die. That might be the case. We need a common morality. Why? In order for us to enjoy amazing art, in order for us to have an amazing relationship with science, with the truth, with each other, with our friends, with our families, everybody in the nation, and then eventually the world. We need a common morality. Why? So that we can understand art, so that we can have a great relationship with art, the culture, the science, the work, the politics, everything about life. For us to have a better relationship with it, we must necessarily have a common base of morality so that we can understand what a joke is next to each other. So when other people come to us, we know what they're joking about. When they say suffer and die, they don't actually mean I want you to suffer and die, but it is a truism at the same time. You can literally suffer and die just the same way everybody else out here do. We all could suffer and die. Our country can suffer and die should we choose to not make the right choice. Should you choose not to make the right choice? Should you choose not to make the right choice? Should you choose not to make the right choice? Should you choose not to make the right choice? Should you choose not to make the right choice? Should you choose not to make the right choice? You can make all these choices. You are free. You are free on the Truth Hurts days. On the Truth Hurts days, you are free. You are free to do what you want. Which means you are free to also suffer and die. So don't we want some guidance here? Don't we want some guides? Don't we want some walls? Don't we want some criteria so that we do not suffer and die? Because it's true, you have so much freedom in the world that you actually can just go suffer and die on accident. Because you have so much freedom to do so. Do what you will. Or suffer and die. We're just telling you some suggestions. Right? The whole world is just telling you suggestions. You don't have to do anything. In fact, what's stopping you from right now just freaking... Nothing. Nothing. What's stopping you from just like, looking at your neighbor and just being, nah! What's stopping you from doing that? Nothing. You could do anything you want. But we chose to do certain things because we chose to reduce suffering in certain ways, right? We don't want to look weird. You know, or we don't want to suffer the consequences of whatever is going to happen. But we actually do have freedom to make all these movements that we want. Always, we have so much freedom to. You always have freedom to do. You can do whatever the heck you want. Nobody cares. Do whatever the heck you want. No one's telling you not to do what you want. No one's telling you not to do what you want. They're just saying what you're gonna do is gonna lead yourself, or other people and all that kind of thing, and to yourself immediately, or other people around you, to suffering. That's all it is. You can do whatever you want, but it will lead to suffering. But we can't even get to that point if we're living in an anger world, living in a world where they even validate anger. Anger still exists, but it should not be seen as a valid thing, as it's always getting in the way. You don't even know what... Oh, you want to talk about not appreciating art and all that stuff on the Truth Hurts days? You add anger into anything, immediately you cannot begin to understand art because it becomes about survival as opposed to whether or not you even like this joke or this piece of artwork. You add anger into anything, you cannot see what that thing is anymore because it's shrouded in anger, and anger is always about survival. So you're just thinking about survival now. You're not even thinking about like, wow, was that a great piece of artwork? Was that funny? You're just like, ha ha ha, this is weird and I feel in danger now because like he's giving me a look. You're not even thinking about that because this anger thing. So it's not that anger doesn't exist, but it is one of these things in the human condition. It should not be seen as part of the truth. Unless you're looking at it as like haha, he got angry, and we know what that means. That is a truism. But art made in anger, death-fearing instead of art made in life-loving, ooh, that's why the art's going down the drain, and you can see it like night and day. The truth hurts, guys. Like night and day. You add anger into anything, you see exactly why the world goes the way it do. It just goes into deception and deceit when it comes to anger because people aren't thinking about what's actually going on. They're just thinking about how to avoid the consequences of this anger, which is danger or which is harm. We know that anger, whether it's to that person or to us or to other people or to things around the person who is angry, we understand that anger is this thing that somebody is hurting, whether it's them, whether it's they want to hurt somebody else, which only happens when they're hurting on the inside, right? As we know. There's hurt involved. So no longer is it about the thing anymore. It's not about even the thing that they might be complaining about. Let's say you didn't get enough food. Let's say you feel it's unfair that you don't have enough food. Should you add anger into it, you create this dynamic where it's triply, maybe quadruply folded, because now you add anger into the situation. You're like, I didn't get what I wanted, right? So now there's two things going on. One, you're intimidating people, whether intentionally or by accident. You're intimidating people. So now whatever happens next is not based off of what's correct and what is going to sustain, but rather intimidation. And it's just feeling like, yo, this guy is going to hurt somebody. Or two, now it's like, okay, so if there is this layer of they're going to hurt somebody, how do you get to the truth? How do you know if they're being legit about their need? Or how do you know if they're being genuine about the fact that they need this? Or are they just being silly? Are they just being deceptive for their own reasons? How do you get to that truth? You can't get to the truth when there's anger involved, because you can't ask them the proper questions. You can't ask them things because they get offended. So you can't get to the truth. They're just made to assume that you know the truth. And that's why our art sucks. That's why people are starving. And that's why the world sucks right now. The truth hurts days. Anger is always the issue. On Palgon here, we never get angry. How do you never get angry? Feel the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times. For us, it is not an arbitrary statement when we say, don't get angry. We don't mean that in just some goofy ass, like, don't get angry. We mean it in a literal way. Feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. How are you going to say that you're never going to get angry, Herbie? You have no time to get angry. The space that you would have filled to get angry in your brain is now thinking about feeling the front of your shins. Is now thinking about how you don't sit on your legs. You don't have time to be angry. Your attention is just on your body and feeling better. Why do we even give in to anger? Because it feels good, right? We give in to anger because it feels good. It's like masturbation. It just feels good. It's like you're giving into a pleasure. You're giving into a raw pleasure. It feels good. What if we could feel better than that? How do we feel better than anger so that we never give into anger, so we can live in a better life, so we can appreciate art better, so that art can't suck anymore, so that we can have better video games that don't suck, so that we can have better relationships with these video games and with our friends and families and everybody else, and art itself and culture and science and politics. And how do we achieve world peace? By feeling the weight of the body on the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches all of the time, so that we have no anger. Maybe a lot of energy. No anger. Are you feeling the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times? How could you get angry if you just know what's going on? If you just know that anger is a feeling, you could feel better than that. Why would you ever be angry? This anger thing comes from within, right? So we can also crush it from within. We can make our anger suffer and die on the Truth Hurts days. We're gonna choke out our anger, guys, as we place the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times. And feel the front of the shins, and remember that you do not sit on your legs. And then remember, on Monday we introduced the idea of suspending the crown gently by a thread. So let's suspend that crown gently by a thread and see how your body feels. The truth hurts days, guys. The truth hurts, but also, it hurts so good. The truth hurts so good, guys. It hurts so good. It might be a little bit uncomfortable to feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into rainbow arches at all the times, but it is always there for you. Is it not the hottest it's ever been lately, guys? I'm burning up. Oh my god. I hope you guys have been able to stay nice and cool out there. We're gonna take a small break to, do whatever the heck you want, right, guys? Do whatever the heck you want. You can choose to not feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine, but suffer and just suffer and die then. Just like I would if I wasn't feeling the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all of the times. And are you feeling the front of your shins? Remembering that you do not sit on your legs. And are you suspending the crown gently by a thread and seeing how your body feels? I'll be right back. Baby, 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 baby. Welcome back. Using our sense of the world to make a sense of the world. Achieving world peace through individual strength. Your only no nonsense podcast on the Best Feeling Network. I'm your host, Herbie, and this is Pow Go On. The truth hurts days. The truth hurts. And you don't have to place the weight of the body in front of the spine. I can't tell you to do it. I can't force you to do it. But there are things you can do, and there are things that you can not do. There are plenty of things that you want to do. Do anything you want. These are just some things to help you feel good, or and suffer, and eventually die, just like everybody do. Truth Hurts Day. Truth Hurts Day. The Truth Hurts Day. Suffer and die. One of my favorite funny phrases. It's just so friggin' funny. It's just so ridiculous. It's just so out there. Suffer and die. It's just like, you would never say that, right? You would never say that. So long as we all have the understanding that you would never say that. That's the truth that hurts. We actually do need this common idea of how to handle life in general, so that we know how to make all the suffering look common, so that we can have commonalities between our understandings of our sufferings, right? It's our relationship with this suffering, not necessarily the objective suffering itself, but our relationship with this suffering that creates all this great stuff. It's our understanding of the world. It's our relationship with everything in the world, right? This invisible idea of the world, not these objects. It's not this phone, but my relationship with the phone. It's not that you and this person like hate each other. It's not that you and this person are bad people. It's just that your relationship is not working. Or it's not that you and your mom or you and your dad like are individually just like awful, unredeemable people. But if you hate each other, it might be like your relationship is the situation. But you yourselves are people, are individuals that are constantly growing, constantly changing, constantly shifting, constantly evolving. So how could it be that any person is anything really, because everything they've done is just things with relationships with these people, because nobody acts the same exactly the whole way across the board. So it's always like these relationships with these people, right? And these things. So for our relationship with culture, with our relationship with each other, for our relationship with human beings to be bountiful, to be fruitful in the ways that we want it to be, whether that be culture, like through art and having great video games and having great movies and having great stories and having great, having great ways to have your different needs met, physical, emotional, intellectual, mental, spiritual. In order for us to have a great relationship with all of those things, the way that we imagine, right? Or the way that we all like deep down really want, we do actually have to have this common morality, although it seems tempting to not not do that because it's uncomfortable to tell each other what to think and what to say. Well, you don't have to tell each other what to think and what to say. You can just tell them what you think, and then they can decide for themselves whether or not they like it or not. And how do they do that? That's the issue, is that right now, our world suffers from severe lack of confidence. Everybody has a lack of confidence, which is why when we look at heroes these days, we don't like them anymore. People don't like heroes anymore. They like to see victims. They like to see people overcome. We always like to see victims of like people overcoming like hardships. But seeing people become great and seeing people truly become great and selfless, we don't see those in heroes anymore. Why? Because we don't actually have confidence that we can match up to that. We don't have confidence in ourselves anymore. We don't understand the ideas of monogamy. We don't understand the ideas of why somebody would put their life on the line for like a child, or why someone would put their life on the line for even like their someone who's not their wife or something, someone like who's just like a friend. People don't understand basic of like why people would be selfless like that. And it makes sense because we don't even blame them either, because we live in a world right now where we don't actually have a way to attain that with proper language, with language that we can communicate with to each other. So it just feels like a big joke. And people are like, hey, believe in this religion. And they're like, hey, I tried it and my body still feels like crap. And they go, hey, I doubt it. And then they're like, Hey, you didn't tell me how to do it. This religion sucks. And they bounce out of there. Hey, you're out of there. And then they don't care because they're just like, well, suffer and die. And it's true, suffer and die. But I mean, like, you guys also live in this culture too, stupid. So like, so you can't just be rejecting people from your religion and then just eject them into the world without any guidance of how to feel this thing that apparently you feel, and then expect them to not turn society in a way that you don't like when you just rejected them and you aren't helping them get this feeling. You're just walking around like, well, I have this feeling and you guys can't touch it. Like, okay, well, they're gonna hate you then, because it's just an asshole move to do, you know? There's gotta be some way to actually attain the good feelings that quote unquote courage and wisdom and like and humility bring, right? People don't understand why you'd be humble. People don't understand why you would not throw all of your money into the ocean. People actually don't understand why you wouldn't do that once you get it. People don't understand that when you get all that money, they don't understand why you would not want to do that. Why you would not want to throw all that money, hard-earned money, into the ocean after you got it. Let's say like you're like a rapper or something, right? People don't understand why you would not want to do that. They actually sympathize with the person doing that. Why? Because they don't have confidence that they would actually feel any goodness of not doing that. Like, you wouldn't feel good about not being proud of how far you went. You wouldn't feel good not indulging in the pride and indulging into the anger of finally getting back at everybody who talked bad about you. So, haha. Like, how would you not give into that? People don't have confidence in themselves to not give into that feeling of degradation. How do we give them that confidence? Feel the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times. And then remembering that you do not sit on your legs, feel in the front of the shins. It's not just this, it's many things, because there are many reasons why people might not be able to feel this right now. Maybe there's a lot of other things in their lives that are just like way more in front of the focus for their survival. And that's fine. It's true. Suffer and die. It's true. But I'm saying it's stuff like this. It has to be stuff like this. It has to be stuff that has to be, we have to be able to communicate to people how to get these good feelings that apparently this courage/wisdom get. Because even the people who believe in those quote unquote, like, right? Even those people, even them, they don't even understand, which is why they're losing, which is why they're constantly slipping into battle. Because when push comes to shove, they have no conviction because they're like, you're right. I mean, I don't really feel this. So it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, when push comes to shove, they're gonna be like, yeah, you're right. Like, I'm kind of a liar. They're like, yeah, you're right. Like, I kind of don't really know how to communicate that I'm feeling this thing. And then they don't have a way for themselves to even replicate the feeling in themselves. So how are they for themselves in the moment of stress? How are they for themselves even supposed to be able to be like, to draw upon that feeling, that power, and be like, yeah, it's just true. You know, it's true that like humility does truly bring you a good feeling, and it's not just that you know that it's better for you in this hypothetical future, which if you are poverty stricken, there's no hypothetical future for you. You are in survival mode all the time. So they don't care about wisdom. They don't care about courage. They want theirs right now. So if they can't feel good right now, they're not going to do it. So we got to get off of that, you know? We got to get off this whole idea of like, oh yeah, courage and wisdom and like humility is good because you're family. It's like, what if you don't have a family? You know, all you have to do is like reduce the value of a family, and then all your values go out the window. They're just like, oh, well, I don't want a family. They're like, oh, well, let's go over here now. I'm like, what? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it actually has to feel good right here and now. That's what I'm saying. So maybe it's not this, but if it's not going to be this, it's going to be weed. It's going to be sex. It's going to be like licentiousness. It's going to be like watching movies all day. It's got to be something that feels good. That's what people are going to end up doing, right? So if it's not the front of the spine and it's the rainbow arches at all the times, it's going to be something else. Something else. But what something else is it's not in your body. It's not right there like, with you all the time. So I just don't know why you wouldn't place the weight of the body on the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all times to feel so fine. And are you feeling the front of the shins? And then are you remembering that you do not sit on your legs? One more time. Are you feeling the weight of the body down the front of the spine? And into the rainbow arches? At all the times. Feel the front of the shins. Don't you feel it? Don't you like that? Kind of rocks you in your seat when you feel the front of your shins. You know, kind of like when you're in the fetal position, how you can feel the front of your shins in the fetal position, you know? It's kind of good, right? The OG position, yo. The OG position. The fetal position, the OG. Feel the front of the shins. Remember that you do not sit on your legs. So we have to have this commonality, you know? This commonality that we can talk about, some kind of communicatable knowledge about how to feel better all the time. Because it's true. You can just go suffer and die. But even the people saying, go suffer and die, you live in a world next to the people who are going to suffer. And when people suffer, it causes other people to suffer. So we can't just be going around telling people to suffer and die. As a joke, of course. Yes, a joke, yes. And literally, it is true. Like, it is good advice. Like, do what you want or suffer, or like, follow good advice or suffer and die. Literally, it's just the truth, you know? So, it's true and it's ridiculous. So, I mean, you know, if it's not funny, then why am I laughing? But so we need this commonality, you know? We need this common ground of like, what are people thinking, so that we can understand. When people say suffer and die, we can immediately understand what that means. We need this common ground, so when people say anything, it's just faster. You just know what they're saying. So if anything else, it's just faster. Don't you want faster? Don't you want life to be faster? So it's like, if anything else, it's just faster to the point. If we have this common reference of just like, okay, yeah, for sure, you know what? Everybody deals with the human condition in a certain way. So it's like, when someone gets angry at you, it's like, all right, you know what? This has nothing to do with me. It's just that their body feels like crap right now. Because if they were feeling the front of the shins, if they were remembering that they do not sit on your legs, you would not be coming at me with a sideways angry energy. And there's just something great about that understanding. There's something freeing about the hard truths. There's something freeing about the truth even when it hurts. The truth hurts days. It leads to freedom. Fridays. There's something freeing about just knowing these hard truths, right? So that we can just get over it already. So we just like move on and just like focus on the actual content of life and not looking for the boundaries. So it's like, yes, we can just look at all these humans and let's start to discuss about what the actual human condition is. What is all of this, baby? Aren't we all just trying to feel better on the inside to avoid this anger thing so we can see the world for what it is? Doesn't anger gloss your vision over and change the way everything looks? Isn't it hard to observe your world? Isn't it hard to feel yourself and your awareness stretch? Isn't it hard to feel your awareness stretch like a muscle as you feel yourself as one part of this gigantic world? And then imagine the world composed of all these billions of individual parts. To stretch your self-awareness in the world like that, how does it feel? Are we all just looking for a way to feel great? And doesn't anger reduce our ability to feel great? In many ways, it's so meta. Not just feeling the body. Doesn't it make it hard to feel the body when there's anger involved? Right? God, I hate you, body. It's not gonna make you want to touch the shins. At the same time, when you're not feeling the front of your shins, and when your shins not, and the front of your shins are not in your awareness, isn't it easier to say things like, I hate you? Isn't it easier to feel anger when your body doesn't feel integrated with its design? And it doesn't feel proper to balance? It's not placing the weight of the body down the front of the spine, but rather trying to place the weight of the body at the back of the spine, like you're trying to stand up straight, like you're trying to portray this outward idea of posture, instead of going towards an inside feeling of balance. Are you accidentally placing weight of the body onto your tailbone? Because we see that there's a tail there, and it just kind of looks like you would sit there sometimes. Are you accidentally placing weight there instead of allowing your weight to divide from the front of the spine into the rainbow arches? If you're looking on the diagram, if you can't see my fingers on the screen, the front of the spine has a blue line going down, which then splits at the pelvis bone, not going into the tailbone, splits, and then goes into the sit bones. And we call this the rainbow arches. The sit bones, the two sit bones that make contact with whatever you're sitting on. Makes contact. Those 2 points of contact, not the tailbone. How does your body feel when it's doing that? And isn't it easier to feel anger? And don't you feel more angry when your body is not feeling great? What if your body was feeling great all the time? So what is anger in the world? Isn't it just people who are just looking for a way to feel themselves in the world, to literally get a sense of self? Didn't we lose connection with a sense of self? some point in the world. When we're constantly looking outward at the world, at all the marvels of the world, did we forget to invest in ourselves? Did we forget to invest in words, communicatable language that could help people understand these things around the world? Like, listen, wait about it, I'm smiling at and feeling in front of shit. And remember that you do not say that. Isn't it true on the Truth Hurts Day? Isn't it true that we could just look at human design and just understand? Isn't it true that this anger thing is just a bunch of humans just not feeling great? Isn't it true that people, if you felt great, that you would do great? It's not just the feeling itself, that it's not just the attainment of this feeling. It's not just like the event of this feeling, right, guys? As we were talking about, it's not just the event of the feeling of feeling great, but rather your relationship with this feeling great, right? We talk about everything's a relationship, right? Everything's a relationship. Everything in the world, if you just look at the world without relationship, it's just things. They're just things, right? Even the feeling of, even emotions, they're just things. They just happen. They're just events in the world, right? Beep, event, pop, pop, pop. They're just events, but our relationship with them is what we actually think about all of the time. For example, it's not the feeling of this, it's not this great feeling that this orgasm brings, right? Like, let's say you're talking about sex for a while. It's not this feeling. It's not just the feeling that it is. It's this relationship that we have with it. How often can you get it? How good was it? How good are you getting it? How much better is it than last time? Right? It's our relationship with these feelings that we care about. Is it coming from someone else? Or is it coming from a masturbatory way? Is it coming from a shameful, quote unquote, way? How are you attaining this feeling? Is it through ways that society would see as couth? It's our relationship to this feeling, not necessarily just the feeling itself, right? So when it comes to these good feelings of like being able to reduce anger, when I say that you feel good, you do good. When I say when you feel good, you think good, and when you think good, you do good. When I say that, am I saying that if anybody feels good, then they're automatically a good person? Or that they've automatically done great things for mankind? No, not necessarily. Because what is that? Yes, they might have felt great, but what's their relationship with this feeling though? Do they trust that they can attain this feeling often? If they trust themselves that they can attain this feeling at will, we can trust that this person has confidence in themselves. We can trust that this person has self-confidence because we see that they can have control over this feeling to feel better all the time. So yes, that is going more towards somebody who we can trust will not screw the world up, will not be angry. Why? Because why would you be angry? If you had this feeling once or something and then you could never attain it again, that would make you angry. So it's not as though like all these angry people have never done great things or have never felt great before or don't even understand it or have never felt it or don't have the affinity to, but rather what's the relationship with your ability to reduce their anger? They might not be angry all the time, but what's the relationship with this anger? When do they get angry? Are they able to reduce it when it matters? I'm like covering the crotch of this picture. I don't know why. It just feels so like nice. Helping you not get angry. What's the relationship with this ability to reduce their anger? Right? Because you're like, Herbie, people have felt balance before, Herbie. How come we haven't achieved world peace before? People have felt balance, Herbie. People have felt the front of their shins, Herbie. People have suspended the crown gently by a thread before, Herbie. People have done all those things. What do you mean that this is all we need for world peace and all that kind of stuff and individual strength, world peace through individual strength and best feeling network and what's all this about, Herbie? Like, what do you mean? People have felt this stuff before. What do you mean using our sense of the world to make sense of the world? This is nothing new, Herbie. This is nothing new, but it is. It's our relationship with this stuff. Our relationship with this stuff is new. Our relationship with the ability to be able to communicate all this information like this is very new. We don't talk about it. We don't talk about how to create a common language of how to reduce anger. We don't even talk about the common language of needing to reduce anger, of why it's important to reduce anger. We need these commonalities, right? And so our relationship with these things like balance and anger reduction, our relationship with anger is the new thing that we have not integrated into society. As I'm like putting my hand at this guy's butt. that's the thing we haven't integrated into reality, is that our relationship with anger is actually all sorts of topsy-turvy. It just needs to be seen as a complete bad. The reason why it couldn't be seen as a complete bad, like all emotionalism, like you'll get emotions throughout life, but to be in emotionalism and to like stay in that and to like wallow in that and to validate it and to see that as a valid like as like the way that we should push people to live is towards this emotionalism. The reason why that was not combated earlier, it's not that people didn't see that anger was an issue, right? It's the fact that we didn't have any communicatable way to reduce it. We didn't have any communicatable way to create some kind of like pedagogy, is that a word? Some kind of like learning regimen for people to be able to integrate these ideas of their internal body, the unknown, right? The unknown world, the chaotic body within, the self, the chaotic, right? The world itself is orderly, the inside world is chaotic, right? The inside chaotic world, we are just like off limits to that, right? We're like, no, you're not allowed to touch art. You're not allowed to touch love. You're not allowed to touch sadness. You're not allowed to touch anger. You're not allowed to touch emotion. Why? Because we didn't actually have a way to navigate those waters. But now we do. So let's shut the hell up about all that stuff. Let's stop talking about emotionalism. Let's stop allowing people to wallow in this emotionalism and just tell them, hey, yo, feel the front of your shins, yo. Remember that you don't sit on your legs, because there are actual issues that you are upset about. And for you to get to the solutions of your issues, you're going to have to get there without anger. Why? Because when you get there with anger, you're not actually solving the problem. So you actually dig yourself deeper, most likely. You dig yourself deeper, most likely. Because now you have all these people doing quote unquote what you want, but as soon as the bottom falls out, you're out of there. They don't love you no more because it was through intimidation. It wasn't the right way. It was through lying, or it was through anger, which always leads to suffering, because anger is like, all right, now we're not even looking at the situation. So it's like, if you wanted food, now we're giving you food like resentfully. And so yeah, you got food for a couple months, but now no one wants to mess with you no more. So now you got no food again, and now it's worse, and nobody likes you anymore because you got food through anger, and you didn't even recognize yourself to see that anger is something that we should all be straying away from. But here we are, you know, we're in a better place now. But yeah, so that conversation needs, it's just the relationship with this anger stuff. On the Truth Hurts Day, it's just our relationship with this anger stuff, each other, our relationship with each other is going to be molded by our commonality, right? And that's going to be part of this commonality, is this idea that this anger stuff needs to go. This commonality, this common like grassroots movement of spirituality and this spiritual warfare that we have here, it has to come from a place of seeing emotionalism and anger as parts of the human experience, but we just need to understand what it is. The ability for the body to, there's conflict within, right? And we need to see it as something that's there, but actually something that we attack with some more objectivity, not more subjectivity, but more objectivity. And people will be like, well, that means that things aren't emotional, Herbie. That makes life boring. It's not true. It just means you get to enjoy more of life. There's more guidance. It's like saying that, like, oh, you want your wheels to go every which way. You want your wheels to be free, Herbie. It's like, no, dude. Like, you want your wheels to be oriented to the front so you have freedom to go wherever the hell you want. You have your wheels on your car freaking doing all sorts of weird things, like shopping cart mode, and they're flipping everywhere. And it's like pinball machines down there. You don't want your wheels having that kind of freedom. It's a different kind of freedom, right? You want the kind of freedom that allows more freedom. That's where we want to go. And so, you want the kind of rigidity that allows more freedom. So when we're talking rigidity of the body and stuff like that, we're talking about adding more freedom. This is more rules for more freedom. I saw a chat, but I can't see it no more. I'm so sorry about that, Secret. I don't know where it went. I'm like looking for it. It's not on Twitch. Darn it. Dang it. This was the perfect time to... If you want to like copy paste that, just paste it in there, because we are going to be closing out here. And I'm just going to be giving my salutation. So if you want to go ahead and copy paste that, Secret, I'll go ahead and read that. I'm sorry about that. I thought it was going to be saved somewhere, so now I know. So I really do appreciate any kind of engagement like that, honestly. So, yeah. Okay, he says, getting to the root of anger is better than picking between food or friends. I like that. I like that. Getting to the root of anger is better than picking between food or friends. We can do this, guys. We don't have to pick between food or friends. We don't have to pick between food or friends, guys. We can get to the root of anger. We don't have to pick between crappy culture. We don't have to. We don't have to just... We don't have to be offended by people saying suffer and die on the Truth Hurts Day. It's funny because it's ridiculous, guys. It has to be ridiculous. Ridiculous from what? From a base layer. From a base layer of common ideas, of common consciousness ideas of what this human experience is, of what we should be doing, of what people value, what people love. And what we value is not feeling like crap. We value feeling great. Right? We value not being angry because no one wants to feel anger. Everyone wants to be able to indulge in the feeling that anger can bring, right? This like, this satisfaction feeling. Everyone wants to engage in that because they're actually just wanting to feel good all the time. And this anger kind of gets there, but then it leaves you and you have to maintain it using more anger. And then other people will have more anger. Then you're put in danger. You don't actually get what you want because you're intimidating people out of it. Knowing what people are actually looking for. It says, all good. I prefer to just listen in on Go On, then comment and break your flow. No worries, man. Thank you. Yeah, we're trying to get it to a flow where we do have these statements at the end. If I can get them to save somewhere. I don't know where the hell these words are going. So we'll see about that. I don't know. Thank you for... This is actually very helpful because we are able to now decide how to go forward with this Go On stuff. Thank you, man. The one time, right? The one time where you do it. I was flying before that. Listen, thank you guys so much for coming through. But we definitely can get to the root of this anger stuff. We need that common base so that we can be like, yo, this is the common morality, and I can see that you are joking by that, you know? And so we can truly understand each other. This suffer and die thing be so funny. Because it's a ridiculous from what? This base layer, right? And in this base layer, we can see anger and emotionalism as this thing that happens to you. And it made sense that we didn't talk about trying to do anything about it before because there was no real way to communicate it. So it just kind of felt like sticking your nose at somebody. It's like, haha, I want you to stop being angry. When's the last time you told someone to stop being angry and they actually did it? Need this common base layer, right? On the Truth Hurts Day, we actually do need this common base layer to even understand jokes, to even understand each other. Be feeling the weight of the body down the front of the spine and into the rainbow arches at all the times. And remember that you do not sit on your legs as you feel the front of your shins. I want to thank you guys for being here on... Guess what day it is, guys? Guess what day it is. The Truth Hurts Day. The phrase suffer and die is kind of funny though. It sounds so extreme, Little Seki says. Could not agree more. I want to get to that place where things are just so funny again, man. I want to be able to laugh about everything. Because the human brain does go everywhere, so we should be able to laugh about everything. We can only do that if we have this initial base layer that we can all agree on, you know? And we'll get there, you know? We'll get there. By getting rid of anger, by feeling the weighted body on the front of the spine, and into rainbow arches at all times. Are you feeling the front of your shins? And are you remembering that you do not sit on your legs today? Thank you for coming through. Thank you guys for hanging out. Special shout out to Secret and Little Seki for hanging out here live. And anybody here in the future, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for coming through on our very first The Truth Hurts Days, guys. It is Thursday, July 1st, 2021. Can you believe we're already here in the second part of the year? What the hell? What the heck? Part 2 of 2021 already here, the sequel. We're already here, guys. The phase 2. So I want you to please go and take care of yourself today. Please place the weighted body on the front of the spine and into rainbow arches at all times. Friday tomorrow. Thank you for joining us today. On the Truth Hurts Days. I am Herbie. You are amazing. And this has been Pago On. Take care of yourself, guys. I love you. I love that chorus so much. I want to hear it again. Found it.